Hey there, and welcome to day 16 of our Christmas stories. I just love Christmas stories, so I have another really good one for you. I have to tell you that I almost forgot today. It was just another busy day, and so here I am at one of our churches. It's almost time for prayer meeting, so I snuck away so that I could record this story for you. Anyways, I love the story. You can get the children's picture book to go with it, but it's also printable on the internet. It's called Christmas Day in the Morning. He woke suddenly and completely. It was 4 o'clock, the hour at which his father had always called him to get up and help with the milking. Strange how the habits of his youth clung to him still. 50 years ago, and his father had been dead for 30 years, and yet he waked at 4 o'clock in the morning. He had trained himself to turn over and go to sleep, but this morning it was Christmas. He did not try to sleep. Why did he feel so awake tonight? He slipped back in time, as he did so easily nowadays. He was 15 years old and still on his father's farm. Oh, how he loved his father. He had not known it until one day, a few days before Christmas, when he had overheard what his father was saying to his mother. "Mary, I hate to call Rob in the mornings. He's growing so fast and he needs his sleep. If you could see how he sleeps when I go in to wake him up, I wish I could manage alone." "Well, you can't, Adam." His mother's voice was brisk. "Besides, he isn't a child anymore. It's time he took his turn." When he heard these words, something in him spoke. His father loved him. He had never thought of that before, taking for granted the tie of his blood. Neither his father nor his mother talked about loving their children. They had no such time for that. There was always so much to be done on the farm. Now that he knew his father loved him, there would be no loitering in the mornings and having to be called again. He got up after that, stumbling blindly in his sleep, and pulled on his clothes, his eyes shut, but he got up. And then on the night before Christmas, that year when he was 15, he lay for a few minutes thinking about the next day. They were poor, and most of the excitement was in the turkey they had raised themselves and mince pies that his mother had made. His sisters sewed presents, and his mother and father always bought him something that he needed. Not only a warm jacket, maybe, but something more, such as a book. And he saved and bought them each something too. He wished that Christmas when he was 15 that he had a better present for his father. As usual, he had gone to the 10-cent store and bought a tie. It had seemed nice enough until he lay thinking the night before Christmas. He looked out of his attic window, and the stars were bright. "Dad," he had once asked when he was a little boy, "what is a stable?" "It's just a barn," his father had replied, "like ours." Then Jesus had been born in a barn, and to a barn the shepherds had come. The thought struck him like a silver dagger. Why should he not give his father a special gift too, out there in the barn? He could get up early, earlier than 4 o'clock, and he could creep into the barn and get all the milking done. He'd do it alone, milk and clean up, and then when his father went in to start the milking, he'd see that it was all done, and he would know who had done it. He laughed to himself as he gazed at the stars. It was what he would do, and he mustn't sleep too sound. He must have waked 20 times, scratching a match each time to look at his old watch. Midnight, 1:30, then 2 o'clock. At 2:45, he got up and put on his clothes. He crept downstairs, careful of the creaky boards, and let himself out. The cows looked at him, sleepy and surprised. It was early for them, too. He had never milked all alone before, but it seemed almost easy. He kept thinking about his father's surprise. His father would come in and get him, saying that he would get things started while Rob was getting dressed. He'd go to the barn, open the door, and then he'd go get the 2 big empty milk cans. But they wouldn't be waiting or empty. They'd be standing in the milk house, filled. He smiled and milked steadily, 2 strong streams rushing into the pail, frothy and fragrant. The task went more easily than he had ever known it to go before. Milking for once was not a chore. It was something else, a gift to his father who loved him. He finished. The 2 milk cans were full, and he covered them and closed the milk house door carefully, making sure of the latch. Back in his room, he had only a minute to pull off his clothes in the darkness and jump into bed, for he heard his father was up. He put the covers over his head to silence his quick breathing. The door opened. "Rob," his father called. "We have to get up, son, even if it is Christmas." "All right," he said sleepily. The door closed and he lay still, laughing to himself. In just a few minutes, his father would know. His dancing heart was ready to jump from his body. The minutes were endless. 10, 15, he did not know how many, and he heard his father's footsteps again. The door opened, and he lay still. "Rob!" "Yes, Dad?" His father was laughing, a queer, sobbing sort of laugh. "Thought you'd fool me, didn't you?" His father was standing by his bed, feeling for him, pulling away the cover. "It's for Christmas, Dad." He found his father and clutched him in a great big hug. He felt his father's arms go around him. It was dark and they could not see each other's faces. "Son, I thank you. Nobody ever did a nicer thing." "Oh, Dad, I want you to know I do want to be good." The words broke from him of his own will. He did not know what to say. His heart was bursting with love. He got up and pulled on his clothes again, and they went down to the Christmas tree. Oh, what a Christmas, and how his heart had nearly burst again with shyness and pride as his father told his mother and made the younger children listen about how he, Rob, had gotten up all by himself. "The best Christmas gift I ever had, and I'll remember it, son, every year on Christmas morning, so long as I live." They had both remembered it. And now that his father was dead, he remembered it alone. That blessed Christmas dawn when, alone with the cows in the barn, he had made his gift of true love. This Christmas, he wanted to write a card to his wife and tell her how much he loved her. It had been a long time since he had really told her, although he loved her in a very special way, much more than he ever had when he was young. He had been fortunate that she had loved him. Ah, that was the true joy of life, the ability to love. Love was still alive in him. It still was. It occurred to him suddenly that it was alive because long ago it had been born in him when he knew his father loved him. That was it. Love alone could awaken love, and he could give the gift again and again. This morning, this blessed Christmas morning, he would give it to his beloved wife. He could write it down in a letter for her to read and keep forever. He went to his desk and began his love letter to his wife. "My dearest love, such a happy, happy Christmas." I just love that story, and it reminds me, there was a phrase right there at the end that said, "Love surely does awaken love," or something like that. In the Desire of Ages, it says that too. Love awakens love, and it's so true with anything. If we want kindness, we need to give it. Kindness awakens kindness. Love awakens love. It's the same for the bad things as well. And so if we want to spread love, if we want to receive love, give love. It is the best way to receive love. And what a better thing to do this Christmas season than to share love with all those around you. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow night.